Hi everyone, I'm Law of the West, and welcome to this buyer's guide for the RSI Galaxy. And it should be noted that this video was made before the general Q&A for the ship was released, and I will be putting out a follow-up to this after more information has been made available. So, what kind of ship is the Galaxy? The Galaxy is described as being the next step up from the Constellation series, at least as far as the RSI lineup is concerned. And its main focus is on being a flexible support ship that can provide a number of various services depending on which module you've installed. According to the specs that have been provided by CIG, the Galaxy has 3 remote turrets that each have 2 size 5 weapons mounted onto it. It has a complement of 8 size 2 missiles. For components, it's listed as having 2 medium-sized computers, 2 fuel tanks, 2 large power plants, and 2 large coolers, and has a single large component for everything else. It has an interior that's been divided up into 2 decks. And the upper deck houses all the necessary amenities that you'd want to have in a large ship. It's got a bridge that has 4 stations and an exterior which looks a lot like the same one that they designed for the Perseus. And just behind the flight deck is a section that has a docking collar, an EVA room, and a lift. And behind that is where you'll find a rec room and a galley. And the rest of this floor mainly consists of living quarters for the crew. The Galaxy has a proper sized room for the captain that comes with its own office, a separate sleeping area, and a private bathroom. It also has 5 additional smaller rooms that are meant for the crew. A long central corridor runs down the width of the ship that connects the 2 remote turret stations together. It also overlooks the hangar bay and provides access to 2 auxiliary corridors that flanks the port and starboard sides of the hangar. Each one of them ends in a small lift that goes down to the lower deck. There are a number of smaller rooms in the lower deck, but the 2 main points of interest in it are the hangar and whatever module you've chosen to have installed in it. The hangar is labeled as being a XX size small, which is reserved for ships like the Pisces, the 85X, the MPUV, the Archimedes, and the Merlin. So far they've announced 3 different modules for the Galaxy. One is for cargo hauling, another is going to be a refinery, and the last one's a medical bay. The Galaxy is already slated to have a cargo capacity of 64 SEUs, and that's without having any modules attached to it. And the cargo module is going to extend that amount by an additional 512 SEUs. The refinery has 2 saddlebag intakes that are located on the belly of the ship, and each one can run independently of each other. And the medical bay looks like it's going to come stocked with 3 size 3 med beds, which are the lowest tiered out of all of them, but it's also going to have 2 size 2 beds which can act as spawn points, and a single size 1 tiered bed which is going to be reserved for healing the most serious injuries. So who would be interested in getting this ship? I feel like the Galaxy would be most appealing to people who are hoping to take on a support role for either their org or some other already existing fleet of ships. And its modularity means that you could outfit it to perform a number of different tasks without having to purchase a series of individually dedicated support ships in order to do so. And this also frees you from having to take on the financial responsibilities and dealing with the amount of time sink that comes along with caring for several other vessels. Yet another thing, and this is something that's quite often overlooked, is that each ship handles very differently. And if you only use one ship for all of your support needs, then you're eventually going to become very familiar with how it handles, and you're going to be a lot better at flying it. And once again, that's opposed to having to get used to flying a number of other support ships that may handle very differently from one another. Overall, this is going to be a good ship to use for accompanying a mining operation that wants to have a long-range refinery which is capable of keeping up the rest of the fleet. While the medical variant is going to be a great asset for any org that has a focus on search and rescue. And it's also going to be really handy to have for any player-run event because it can handle all the healing and respawn needs that a large-scale org event is going to require. Well, that's going to be it for this buyer's guide for the RSI Galaxy. I've been your host, Law of the West. Thanks for watching, and take care.